Hey folks, and welcome to another video from A Plain Truth. If you find from your own experience that something is a fact and it contradicts what some authority has written down, then you must abandon the authority and base your reasoning on your own findings. Da Vinci. So many of you listeners may already know about the inventions of Nikola Tesla way back in the turn of the 20th century in the early 1900s, when he came across the pond and worked with Thomas Edison, but then broke away to develop alternating currency and many other things. He openly gave his work out until J.P. Morgan canceled it because of his free energy, but he invented alternating current instead of Edison's direct current. Light, he did invent the incandescent light bulb, the Tesla coil. Concept of Earth itself as a magnet that can generate electricity, electromagnetism. Hello, flat Earth. X-rays, electromagnetic ionizing radiation, Curie photography, where you can see people's auras. The radio, and he gave it to Marconi to use. Marconi took it over, and he gets all the credit for it. Remote control, electric motors, robotics, lasers. 120 years, 30, 40 years ago, folks, and look at this, limitless free energy. So what do you think the powers that be, the power and control, have had? They've had Nikola Tesla technology of free energy for over 120, 30 years. For those who think that we need fuel to run planes and stuff, that's ridiculous. It's absurd, but that's all they offer us, folks. So yes, it is valid to question the stuff, whether jet fuel is in planes or not and whatnot. So I want to just bring this to your attention and also introduce those that you don't know to Victor Schauberger, another one that gave us free energy. Here, take a look. The majority believes that everything hard to comprehend must be very profound. This is incorrect. What is hard to understand is what is immature, unclear, and often false. The highest wisdom is simple and passes through the brain directly into the heart. Victor Schauberger. Victor worked alone on a machine that would create a reaction to an atomic level similar to the results of hydrofusion experiments. He was getting on to the very core of how nature works. He observed, like the trouts, birds move through the air using hyperbolic centripetal spiral movements. When air flows through their feathers during a flight, a stronger counter-circulation of updraft is created, carrying the birds forward and upwards. He developed an aircraft engine that would work on the same principle as the trout turbine by using air as the fuel source. It would suck in the air and convert it to fuel while flying, and at the same time create a vacuum from in front of itself, which would move continuously without resistance. Perpetual energy. He developed an aircraft engine that would work on the same principle as the trout turbine by using air as the fuel source. It would suck in the air and convert it to fuel while flying, and at the same time create a vacuum from in front of itself, which would move continuously without resistance. Perpetual energy. So let's get a little further into Victor Schauberger, the humble witness of nature. He lived from the late 1880s, I believe, until 1950 or so, 58, 59, when he went home for 5 days after NASA. He wouldn't do the work for NASA, and they basically put him out. And when he got home 5 days later, same with the Nazis, as we'll get into here. So, Schauberger, he was an Austrian. After all, nature is a wild dance of intelligent, unlimited energy. Let us dance with it. Just like Nikola Tesla, Schauberger worked on free energy and anti-gravity, if there was gravity, devices. While working as a forester, he came up with an amazing method of cooling down water and creating spin, making it easy for tree logs to be transported over greater distances, since cold water could carry greater loads in much more efficient way. His life's motto, comprehend and copy nature. It's also called biomimicry. Birds do not fly, they are flown, and fish do not swim. They are swim. Schauberger. Vortexes in water are the key principles behind Schauberger's inventions. And here you can see the fish going up against stream, which got him curious as to how they could do that and they could hold their power against mighty streams and stay calm. he started to understand the prospects of the vortex device. And here you can see the vortex like a tornado. Instead of breaking things down and burning them, what if we let nature do its thing and provide us with an endless amount of energy utilizing the principle of inward motion, implosion, impansion? An example of this would be a vortex in water or tornado. In air, which we are both mentioned earlier, you see harnessing energy in this matter doesn't require us to burn anything. Doesn't require us to suck out Earth's natural resources like madmen, even causing a considerable amount of pollution along the way. The vortex, right? Free energy. Now think about the Big Bang Theory. When do you know when explosions create things? No, explosions break things apart. What he put together was implosion to create energy like a tornado concentrating its energy. Schauberger and the Nazis. After a number of fantastic inventions, he finished a device called the jet turbine, which used the kinetic energy of water. Kinetic means related to, produced by motion, to generate electricity. This patent passed on May 10th, 1930. The new way of generating energy caught the eye of many people, among those Reich Chancellor Adolf Hitler. He was summoned to Berlin in 1934, receiving a special visa in a time of diplomatic incoherence between Germany and Austria. Schauberger followed the Aikido-oriented way of working with nature as opposed to our modern-day karate way of working against nature. Hitler seemed to be very pleased by Schauberger's radically new way of using the power of water in his inventions. He was equally frustrated that Schauberger refused to work for Nazi Germany. In Schauberger, Austria was annexed in 1938, and the SS came searching for him and his ideas on the 1934 approved patent of the air turbine, a device functioning with the same principle as water vortex, but instead of applying it to airflow by getting the air to flow spin in a tornado-type fashion, it was the impeller of the turbine was set in motion and thrust was generated. Here you go. Now, since his devices worked just fine, he wasn't placed there for being insane. It was about him being pushed in a mental hospital. I'm sorry. Viennese Association of Engineers, and consequently placed in a mental hospital. He wasn't there for very long because the SS wanted his expertise in their programs for the development of their technology. All right, so take a look at this picture, folks. What does that look like? Looks like a jet turbine engine to me, folks. If water or air, this is quoting, if water or air is rotated in a twisting form of oscillation known as a colloidal, a buildup of energy results, which with immense power can cause levitation. This form of movement is able to carry with its own means of power generation. This principle leads logically to its application in the design of the ideal airplane or submarine requiring almost no motive power. Get it? And then he gets on to talk about the anti-gravity, the Bell machine. This is where all the talk about the UFOs. See the design? This was the anti-gravity device they caused it, which was levitation using either water or air in the vortex principle. Let me show you one more thing about Victor Schauberger. So as I said previously, Victor Schauberger worked with nature and biomimicry and learned to imitate nature and create implosion devices, vortex devices to create energy. And here once again you see it looks just like a jet engine. They just took that technology and applied it. So it is very possible and likely that the planes are running on compressed air. This man I highly encourage you to get into more. Victor Schauberger was known as the water wizard in energy. He was used by Hitler and Himmler and developed the Bell device, the anti-gravity device that Joseph Farrell talks a lot about. And this is where we get the UFOs from. It came around the exact same time, using the spiraling vortex for energy. Unfortunately, he was brought over to NASA during the Operation Paperclips, worked under von Braun, but would not cooperate developing his technology. They shipped him back to Austria, and 5 days later he was dead under very questionable circumstances. But he looked at the river. He gave it a great example of why rivers meander. And look at this, how it starts off wide and gets narrower and narrower, creating vortex energy. And it's the exact same principles they're using in the air combustion. Here, check it out in cars.
Listen to the distinct sound of this pollution solution. It's a car that runs on compressed air, called a CAT for compressed air technology. It's the result of 14 years of research and development by French engine designer Guy Negre. With the CAT, Negre has created a car that produces zero emissions.
The premise of this project was that in order to run a car, particularly in town, you need very little energy. And with compressed air, you can accumulate enough energy to do that.
Compressed air has long been used as a power source for various tools and equipment. For car designers, compressed air has been difficult to harness. But now, Negre and his team at Motor Development International have built an engine that they believe will blow the car market away. Within an internal combustion engine, gasoline and oxygen ignite. The resulting explosions create pressure, which pushes the pistons that turn the crankshaft. With MDI's engine, precisely timed bursts of compressed air create the pressure needed to drive the pistons, pollutant-free. Supplying enough energy to power the car requires pressure at 4,300 pounds per square inch. That's more than 100 times the pressure in a standard car tire. Forced inside a tank small enough to fit under the CAT's chassis, it's the formula for a potential ticking time bomb. So the pressure was on the designers to build a tank that won't explode.
This is to give you an idea of the technology inside of the car. You can see that under the floor you have some carbon fiber tanks. It has to be carbon fiber on cars because it is very safe. If there is a crash or something, there's no problem with pieces going everywhere. There is just a crack and then the air goes out.
The tanks can even withstand the force of small caliber gunfire. Since it's being powered by air, the CAT has a lightweight aluminum frame to keep it lean and nimble. MDI has licensed the technology to Tata Motors, India's largest car manufacturer. And Mexico City is looking at the CAT as a way to cut into its layer of smog. Once the CAT leaves the factory, it will need some air. And MDI will need to convince gas stations to play along by installing industrial compressors and air tanks.
This is a compressor, and you can use this to fill some high-pressure tanks, a huge volume, and then when a car arrives at the air station, you just have to transfer the air from these big tanks to the car, and that takes just 3 minutes.
But airing up can also be done at home. Plug in a compressor that comes with the car, and in 3 to 4 hours, the tank is full. It's now ready to go 125 miles for just $2. If the air is generated with a renewable source, the car becomes a true green machine.
This is the motor alternator to fill the car when you plug the car on an electric plug to fill the tanks.
Put it all together, and the city version, or Mini CAT, will hit a top speed of 70 miles per hour. If you want a Tiger in your tank, MDI has developed a gasoline dual energy version. When the air is depleted, gasoline drives the engine while an onboard compressor refills the air tank. Alternating between the two fuels, the hybrid will hiss along for an amazing 600 miles on one small tank of gasoline. The first car targeted for early production is the Mini CAT. If you think it looks strange from the outside, take a closer look at the steering wheel.
This is why we've put the driver in the middle. Having the driver in the middle, you can put it a little bit more in the front of the car, so you have more volume for the trunk. This is the basic idea. But then also for us, it's more simple to use this car in England and France, for example. There's no problem because the driver is in the middle.
Right side steering, left side steering, it doesn't matter. Guy Negre has made a car for everyone. Costs for the CATs will range from $7,000 for a 4-cylinder Mini CAT to $25,000 for a 6-cylinder family car. Negre's determination to be eco-responsible extends to manufacturing as well.
We are going to expand the industrial concept we came up with, which is to make cars in small factories located within the market. It is an original concept. It's very important for the economy, for social issues, pollution issues, and the environment.
The compressed air car works. Now all Guy Negre needs is the support of the public and the automobile industry.
Breakthroughs are always difficult, especially technological breakthroughs, because the industry generally follows the direction that has already been established, and they don't like to see someone trying to change the course. But today, there is a worldwide need to change the course.
So here we can clearly see that air compressor energy, free energy almost, is available and has been available for a very long time. Most of us know that NASA is a complete fraud. If NASA is a complete fraud and all their engineers and space people can be fooled or mind controlled over that long a period of time, don't you think they could fool us with putting compressed air in instead of jet fuel and having literally free energy? Remember, NASA is a military operation using geoengineering to spray us all. So if NASA's lying to us, and they're lying to us about so many things, like they won't even tell us they're geoengineering, what else will they lie to us about? So in the comment sections, I've got a lot of really kind of like, I'm an engineer, I'm a mechanic, I've worked on planes, I've got fuel on me. Yeah, there's probably planes that fly on fuel. There's no doubt there is fuel being used, but not necessarily in commercial jets. Not necessarily. So when I asked these comments, when I went back to these supposed experts, and I was kind of baiting them, hey, so if you know that much, tell us how they put the chemtrails in. Where do they put it? Who installs it? What's going on? I haven't had one answer from any of these alleged mechanics. The other thing is, I had one comment which I meant to save and I blew it. I didn't screenshot it. It was from an F-16 crew chief who said he'd worked on it for 20 years, and we were exactly right on the technology. We had it right. And I went back to find the comment, and the comment was removed. So that just gives me even more impetus that we're on to something here, folks. So this is from Mike Decker. I want to give a big shout out to Mike Decker because he does some really yeoman's work out in Massachusetts, or out in up north, I think he is, in northern states. But he does some great work on taking in the geoengineering going on in these planes. But take a look at this plane. Look at it coming out from the wings, and it's a commercial aircraft. They are spraying us with commercial aircraft. Here, take a look, and thank you, Mike.
I'm going to assume, I have not checked because I don't even know if I got my phone on me. This is KLM, I'm going to assume. We'll see. They're usually the first ones through. Yeah, that looks like KLM. Oh yeah, it's magical. It's magical. So ridiculous. Pretty dirty looking there, KLM. I would bet that's KLM 601.
All right, so here's the question I have, and I've been following geoengineering and chemtrails since 2005, and we've always been shown these pictures that they're stored inside these cabins, inside the fuselages and whatnot. So what if this is all a ruse to get us away from the intention that it's not stored internally in the fuselages in the planes, but is stored out in the wings of the plane, and only these photos we have of these ballast tanks and these allegedly chemtrails being inside the planes, and this is where they spray and they come out of the nozzles. We can be rethinking this now, because we may be thinking that maybe they're stored in the wings. That's why the compressed air makes it float so easy and makes the flight so easy and keeps the weight off, and really the chemtrails are loaded up through the wings. Here you see it coming out of a fuselage, which we've been shown, but we show no pictures of them coming out of a wings, except when you see pictures like this. And it's been going on a very long time. This picture here is from the 1950s about geoengineering. Also, go to Jim Lee's Weather Modification Inc., and he shows newspaper articles from back 100 years of weather modification in newspaper articles. It's under weathermodification.com, I believe. So in a recap, Victor Schauberger gave us free energy using airflow, compressed air. It is likely that the plane wings, I'm getting more and more convinced, are carrying compressed air and not fuel, though some planes may carry fuel. But it's up to us to figure it out more. Thank you all for helping, and especially thank you to... All right, that's about all I got for now, but I do want to give a shout out to who the original information, it appears, comes from, this Jones S. Sino J, who apparently was writing about this over the past few months. It's been picked up by Enslaved by No Media. He's doing some wonderful work with the PX900 cool camera, doing distance work, which we're going to be featuring in another video here coming up. And please don't shoot the messenger, folks. We're just trying to investigate and understand and learn as best we can, questioning everything to find the truth. All right, Plain Truth out. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace and love one another always.